Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I hope my voice is clear. Please just give me a thumb up that if my voice is clear or not. Tonight we will discuss a very hot topic because it's like unique, and it's very rare to talk about such a topic in the Arab world. So I think yes, Lucas is joining with us now. Just a minute. We have to put him live. Where are you, Lucas? Okay, I'm just waiting Lucas to be online, and we will highlight a couple of topics related to industrial design just now within a second. Okay, so my voice is okay because I don't use the microphone this time. Hi Lucas.
Hi Jafar, how's it going?
How are you? Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I don't know what's your time now.
Good evening, nice. 2 hours before you. It's 6 o'clock here.
Okay, Mr. Lucas, now you are from Norway, right?
Well, I'm based in Norway, but I'm from Brazil.
From Brazil, but you are now in Norway. Good.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. See, we'll make this topic very organized and in sequence. I have a couple of questions after just do a little bit of research. What we want to do is to educate our audience about industrial design, what is industrial design, the journey for the industrial designer, and many topics related to that. Just before that, I have a couple of points I have just to mention about. Number one is when talking about industrial design, is totally different from the graphic design. It's part of what they call it design work, but industrial design, it needs more comprehensive. You have to be corporate with engineering, maybe with the production manager, with marketing manager. So it's like a different piece here and there. You have to put in your industrial design so he can draw. Comparing with the graphic designer, maybe yes, maybe he can cooperate with other complicated, like, right, Lucas? It's more complicated because you have to know, at least you have that background, mechanical or at least electrical a little bit. So you are not you are not artist. Just a draw from your mind. You have to know each details before you draw. So because after this drawing, it will become like in a 3D, it will become prototype. So you have to know all these things. So I know, Lucas, your work is very hard. It's not easy at all. And from this interview, we have to educate our people what industrial design is, what's the process, what's the beautiful headache that you have when you're working in such things like this. So just before we start, please, look, you introduce yourself a little bit, your background, what you are doing now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for having me first. And just maybe we can ask people, but sometimes your voice is cutting a bit, and I'm not sure if it's just me. If someone can say something, but
please, if my voice cut off or there's like triggering or something, please just inform me.
Yeah, but it's just now and then. But anyways, so I'm Lucas, as you probably know now. I'm an industrial designer in Norway. I work at X Design, a design consultancy here, based in Norway and Denmark. I'm based in Trondheim, which is a city here in the middle of Norway. I've been working with industrial design for almost 7 years now. I started in Brazil. Then in 2018, I moved here. So I always worked with consultancy. So in a way, working with all sorts of clients, all sorts of industries. So I could say that I have a broad understanding of what the headaches are, as you mentioned. And at the same time, I don't have the depth of in-house designer has in the process of, industrialization of one single product. But yeah, anyways, I think that's a bit of my background. So I studied in Brazil as well. And yeah, I've been based in Europe for 3 or so years.
So when you study, Lucas, in Brazil, it was an industrial design study or like a general design, then later on you go to this industrial design field?
Yeah, it varies from school to school. My school is one of the oldest industrial design programs outside of Europe. So they've been teaching industrial design since the 50s. It's very based on the Yule model from Germany. So it's a very classic industrial design, like 100 years old type of program where you follow, from the beginning, that you're going to design industrialized products. While other schools, yeah, they have more of the generic, as you said, like you have first years, which is more of the global branch of design, and then you specialize into something, which was not my case.
So all your career path, only you are focusing in industrial design. You never try something else, for example, like a general graphic design, or only 100% you are focused only in industrial design?
That's the studies, but yeah, I'm definitely not in that way. I mean, I'm definitely more involved in the, how can I say, the holistic part of design, or the holistic approach of design. I'm very interested in the other parts. I'm very interested in the strategy part, which is definitely crucial, and it's a part of design anyways, even if you're not a strategic designer or strategy designer or business designer. Strategy is a big part of it. I'm also, involved in branding every now and then. I'm also involved, since I work in a big consultancy, we work a lot with digital designers, designing apps, designing whatever digital solutions for different products. So, and that's one great thing about working in a consultancy. You work with many other designers working in different disciplines. So you learn with them, and, you get the privilege to participate in other parts of the process. Of course, I could, as an industrial designer, just focus on the product, but I mean, personally, I really like to explore other areas. I'm definitely more, if you look at a professional as a T-shaped professional, my long part of the T is definitely industrial design. But of course, I like to, drink a sip here and there on the other disciplines.
Okay, you are diving in this and not swimming.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have a couple of questions. Just we'll take it one by one, just to what I call it what they call it, to build up the knowledge and accumulative knowledge for our audience. Number one, what is industrial design and why we need it?
Yeah, I think that's the $1 million question, or 1 billion. Well, in a very simple way, industrial design connects manufacturing, industrialization, with user needs. If we want to simplify a lot, that's it. As you said in the beginning, it's not art. It could become art. Definitely, like a design can become art, and vice versa. But the focus is in manufacturing something for someone. So yeah, and we need it because we need products that we like, right? Like, as a user, I want a good experience from a product. And the job of the industrial design is basically connecting all the points, all the dots from the industrialization process and the user needs and strategy and the business models, et cetera, connecting that into one single thing and delivering that good experience to me as a user. So we needed to create better experiences for consumers.
Yeah, to introduce, to enhance our lives through products. And that's coming to the second question, which is, I think, it will be $2 million question. What's the difference between industrial design and mechanical design? Because there are many overlaps in between.
Yeah, mechanical design and mechanical engineering is, I'll say, it's a crucial part in manufacturing something. But, again, to simplify a lot, I would say that in mechanical engineering, this person, he or she, is focused on making something feasible, making something work, and the whole focus is on feasibility and on technical skills or technical parts of the process. So the focus is on the product. Well, industrial design, the focus is on the connection between user needs and the industrial process, plus all the rest. So a mechanical engineer, the best mechanical engineer, is going to design the best technology, but industrial design is going to be able to connect the best technology to what people need. So if you ask an engineer, to design a container, they might design the best, lightweight, cheapest aluminum box in the world. But maybe that's not what the user needs, right? And maybe that's not the best for business. So the job of the industrial design, it's not the most complex job in the world. You just have to connect dots. You just have to connect information across the product development.
So in this case, we can say that industrial designer, he need to become like more empathy comparing with the mechanical, because you are thinking from the end user, the user experience. which is part of the steps of design thinking, because as an industrial designer, I'm not thinking about the physical, the bolts and nuts, about the product itself. But, whereas the industrial design, he's thinking from what they call the customer's point of view. You put yourself in their shoes, you know. Whereas the mechanical, they're focusing about the product itself, regardless about the user experience. So I think the industrial design is much wider, whereas mechanical, electrical, whatever that is you have to put it, will be more focused about the product itself. Whereas the industrial designer is, I think, he have much wider vision, okay, and more empathy, and more understanding of user experience comparing with others. What do you think about this conclusion? Right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's hard to say that we have more empathy, but I think we're more trained to use empathy in the process.
Okay.
I think, you know, you can have very empathetic people in a product development process. Sometimes an engineer will be more empathetic than an industrial designer, but it's the way you apply it. Like, in a way, in the methodology of industrial design, you are, I'm not going to say forced, but there is a big part of it, which is be empathetic and try to design for people and try to make their lives better. But for the mechanical engineer, maybe that's not a big part of the process. There, as you said, the focus is on making this product feasible, viable, cheap, etc., etc. So again, it's very hard to see one without the other. At the same time, I will never say that a mechanical engineer cannot be a designer, because I work with mechanical engineers at Eggs that are amazing designers. And at the same time, I work with amazing industrial designers that can do mechanical engineering. But of course, when you look at the depth of knowledge, it's always good to have the specialists in each field, right? So, yeah.
Okay, because there are some debates about what's the difference between mechanical and industrial. After I just read a couple of articles and watch a couple of YouTube, they say that an industrial designer, maybe they have the knowledge about the mechanical, okay, and he become like an industrial designer. Whereas mechanical engineering, he's mechanical engineer, but not necessarily he can become like industrial designer if he don't understand the user experience. He don't have that empathy. He don't have that wide knowledge, not just about the mechanical, about the end user, how to use it. For example, to do some product for a female, how they behave with, how they can touch, how they can carry. What about the weight of the product, the color, the surface, the materials, everything. So I think the industrial design, I call it like a falcon eye, you know. So I can see everything, you know. So it's not just like
yeah.
point.
I think one thing is important to say always that, I mean, a way to demystify the whole perception of design is that, you know, anyone can become a designer. You just need to apply methodology. You know, in my career, I met a lot of people that say that they're not creative and therefore they cannot be designers. And that's the amazing thing about design. Like, it's not a, you know, such a technical depth, in depth, or such a complex branch of science that, you know, it's impossible for certain people to do. I mean, if you apply methodology, if you have empathy, as I say, if you have critical thinking, if you apply all those things, you have basic human decency, which is very important for designers, you can become a designer. As I said, a lot of mechanical engineers I know are very good designers.
So I invite everybody, if all the audience, please just check up Lucas' Instagram and his amazing works. As you said, it's not about details more than how we can present the product, how we can feel the product, how it become like practical. Because if it's not practical, it will become like an art. You know, everybody can just, you know, through his mind and do, you know, whatever he wants. Whereas the industrial design should be practical. So empathy, yes, practical, and it will be, as we said before, should be from perspective of user experience. So my third question, the following question is there any prerequisite for any designer, graphic designer, to become industrial design? I mean, in industrial design field. For example, I'm a graphic designer. I want to become like industrial designer. What will be the prerequisite in terms of skills, knowledge, persona? What's your tips and
Yeah,
advice?
especially if you're a designer already, I think it's an easier change. You know the basics, you know the foundation of design. That's important. That's a big step towards that flip. I would say like that. There's no prerequisite, but
Mhm.
it's important to keep the curiosity, which is something all over design. And I think the only the specificities of industrial design is that you have to know a bit about manufacturing. Again, we're not mechanical engineers, but you have to have some knowledge into manufacturability, into feasibility, into different manufacturing processes. Like, you have to understand a bit about injection molding, you have to understand a bit about metal bending, and so on and so forth. So it's important to understand a bit about materials, but it's nothing that you don't learn easily. You don't have to have the in-depth knowledge of that field, but you have to understand that a product to become real, to become a thing, you need to follow certain rules, and you have to work with engineers and other people to make it feasible.
Okay, is there any courses or maybe like high-level certificates from as a virtual school or university or college that you advise people or whoever that interested to become like an industrial designer to apply in these schools or college or university?
Yeah, I think if you're just curious, I mean, if you want to go into it, I mean, there's a lot of different amazing schools out there, right? But I think if you're curious, there's a big community on Instagram. You can start by looking at people doing stuff. I'd recommend Advanced Design, which is adv.design, I think, on Instagram. It's an initiative from the US, from an educator from Chicago, and a group of other people involved in that. And they have several different initiatives, focusing on sketching, focusing on, teaching basic skills of design. And now they have a education, I would say like it's an online school to teach industrial design or to complement industrial design education. So that's a cool way to get in touch with the profession and maybe see if you want to invest in a bachelor's or a master's in industrial design. So there's a lot of resources online that you can start learning. You can start seeing people doing stuff. A lot of people share a lot of the process on YouTube. So I would say first go online, see if it's interesting, and then decide if you want to make a change.
That as academic certificate later on. So yeah. So what type of software you usually to do your work as a designer?
It varies a lot. I mean, I would say that probably the industrial designer is the designer that uses the biggest amount of software, maybe. I mean, I'm looking at myself and a lot of friends that are all the time testing new things, because the idea, like, you shouldn't limit yourself to a software. The goal is to create an experience, is to conceptualize something, is to make a product, and to achieve that goal, maybe you're gonna need different tools. So if I want to make, let's say, I want to make a phone. I know that I'm probably going to need 3D modeling. I'm probably going to need to render this to present to someone. I'm definitely going to need to prototype a lot. The tools I'm going to use along the way are many. So I would say that, okay, for 3D modeling, basic softwares, SolidWorks is probably one of the most used because you communicate with engineers easily. But now Fusion 360 is growing a lot and it's a cheaper software. But it's more into, when I talk about these two softwares, because it's a bit more technical, but you also have Rhino, you also have all sorts of, 3D software. Then you have Keyshot for rendering, you have Blender also for rendering, or have all sorts of software for that. We've been using a lot of VR stuff recently. Now you have Gravity Sketch to sketch in virtual reality. You have all sorts of tools for sketching. I think one of the best tools is still a pen and a piece of paper to sketch all the time. You still use a lot of foam, 3D printing. I mean, again, the tools, the softwares are just, it's not the goal. It's just the way to get there.
Okay, maybe this in early stages. In early stage, for example, if I have a concept I want to share with you, we'll discuss later on about the process. But just in this point about the software, maybe you can use just pen and paper, maybe like basic software. But the main question later on, after you are done with your product or with your design, you have to share it with the engineer, just an example, or for production or for the company. So it should be synchronized with their software. It should be the common between you as an industrial designer and them as production. So maybe a 3D maker, maybe, I don't know, Maya, I don't know what about software, but it should be at the last stage, about after rendering, it will be the software that even can be used from the company or from the end user, I mean the industry, right? So usually, what type of software after you finish, you can send it, for example, to the factory and they can manufacture it.
Ideally, during the process, you're communicating with engineers all the time, and again, talking about the role of the designer, I think it's again going to the connecting dots, and connecting dots is basically communication, and the communication with engineers, besides of course verbal and visual, like sketching and so on, it happens a lot in 3D software, and I would say one of the most common software is SolidWorks. So you're gonna use a lot of SolidWorks or Fusion 360 or whatever to detail things together. So while I'm designing something, the engineer can also use the same file to detail that file.
Yeah.
So a lot of the collaboration happens in SolidWorks, for example. And from there, when let's say something's done, which is even hard to say something is done because it's almost never done. But when something's done, you usually have a 3D file. That could be a step file, could be a whatever, but usually in SolidWorks or something like that, that a tool maker can use to make a tool. If you have an injection molded part, for example. So then you have another specialist here, which is the tool maker, that sometimes is a mechanical engineer, sometimes it's not, sometimes it's just a technician, that is going to take the design made by the industrial designer and the mechanical engineer and transform that into something that can be manufactured.
Which is the prototype?
No, I'm talking about tool making, which is, for example, let me grab something here. Like, for example, I have a controller here. Okay. All these plastic parts, they are made in a tool. In a big expensive metal tool to inject these plastic parts to make them in this specific shape, right? And until we get here, there's thousands of prototypes. You're prototyping all the time with foam, with or 3D printing,
with wood, with clay, whatever. Yeah,
exactly. Whatever you have in your hands, and that's the important part. Like whatever is easy and quick to just make something and show and grab and touch and so on. But to make the final product, you have to mold this. Like this is hard plastic, right?
Yes.
So you have to make a tool. Just to make this part, you need a tool. And this tool is usually very expensive.
They use like a huge metal mold, and they put and the plastic, they mold it. Okay, I get it.
Exactly. So, and the person doing that is a tool maker, which is a specialty in itself. So yeah, you need, that's the thing, to get a product from paper, from idea, from briefing until delivery, until shipping. A lot of people are going to touch this product.
We'll talk about this one now. What they call it, the concept from sketch to shelf. Okay. So, what will be usually the steps of or the process of industrial design? How many steps usually you have to?
There's no cake recipe. I mean, again, as I said before, it's all about methodology, and I think that's one great thing about design is that you have so much information about methods and tools that you can use. But I would say that like a very basic method is you start with a brief somewhere. Someone is giving you that, or maybe starting with you if you work in a company. It varies too. There is a challenge, there's a problem there you have to solve. There is an initiative to get somewhere with a brief. Then you're going to investigate that. Like usually there's an assumption in that brief, right? Like let's say using the controller again, we want to make a controller for the next generation Xbox, for example. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is to go out there, is to see people, talk to people, see what they're using. In this process, you're going to interview people, you're going to observe. Observe is very important as well, because if you ask people what they want, they don't know yet, or they don't know that what they do now, it's problematic in this and that way. So it's very important to go there and observe their use, observe their process. And then after this...
That's what they call it, Lucas, the first step of design thinking, to become empathy with the customers. As you said, now you have to go down and talk with the people, get their feedback. Okay, after that?
Then after that, you're going to have a lot of data. And again, the power of design of connecting information and connecting data. You're going to take all that information from the user side and transform that into actions. So most probably you're going to start by sketching. You're going to have some ideas. You're going to sketch and you're going to prototype. Early on, ideally, you start like by doing clay, as you say, clay prototypes. You're going to start by, sanding foam or gluing paper together. That's usually the process of ideation. So you're going to have dozens and dozens of ideas. And the most important thing here is quantity over quality. It's not about finalizing and detailing one prototype. It's all about creating as many as possible, because you're going to combine, you're going to discard some, you're going to, and then you're probably going to have to make decisions. You're going to use those prototypes. You're going to test with people again. Yeah, in an ideal process, you're going to involve the user the whole way, right? Like, so you investigate, you find things with them, but when you're ideating prototype, you're also testing with them again.
Yeah.
So you see that things work even before manufacturing something. So you make decisions, and then you go into 3D modeling. Then you start 3D printing, which is a more finished prototype. Like I have something 3D printed here. So it looks better, it feels better, it's plastic. So you start getting more of the feel of a product. Then after 3D printing, more decisions are made, more detailing in the prototype, more tests with users. And then you start detailing until you have something that is ready to manufacture, a better prototype that you can evaluate and say, okay, let's go for it. And then you make tools, and then you produce.
So the testing with people, it will be in the prototype stage, or after you do like a semi-final product with the material, with the surface, with the texture, and then you can share it with your people. So sharing the prototype with people, it will be in which stage? I mean, it will be just prototype, as you said, maybe from hard paper, and share it with people, or no? It will be after you manufacture like one sample, two samples, and then
you're always testing. It depends on the company. Like some companies, they are bold enough to go out and take a prototype that is not launched yet and test with real people in the world. But a lot of companies that are very secretive for good reasons, for industrial reasons, they're going to test inside. You still, let's say, again, I'm talking here about the Xbox controller. If you talk about Microsoft, they have hundreds of employees in their facilities in Seattle, for example, or close to Seattle. So of course, you don't have to go all the time outside to talk to people in the streets. Sometimes when you cannot show something outside, you have hundreds of people inside.
It will be closed focus group or closed samples.
You also have closed the test groups that you can have at some point. You have a good prototype in the end that you want to test with real people, see how they use it, how they behave with the product, how they perceive it. So you're testing all the way as much as possible, and you're going to involve people as much as you can in the ways you can. So some companies are going to be more secretive, but they're not going to stop prototyping and testing anyways. You never delay testing until you're almost finished, because it's going to cost a lot when you have to change something.
Okay. Usually, Lucas, you are working like a solo or tango. I mean, you're working alone, or you have to work with the team, or depend in the project itself.
Yeah, I think I rarely work. When I work alone is on my personal stuff. And even in that, I wish I had more people working with me, because, two people work much better than one person is, for many reasons, not only for the skills you have, the different skills, but you have different backgrounds, you have different biases. I might behave in a certain way. I might see things, even when you're talking to people and investigating during user side, I might see a certain behavior from the user in a way, while my colleagues see in a different way. So it's very important to check those biases and talk to each other and design together, sketch together, have ideas together. And of course, at some point, in some parts, you might need to work alone. For example, if we're talking about detailing parts, like in a 3D modeling software, it's hard to work, 5 people in one file. So you might work in parallel in different parts or different files. So in some parts, you might need to work alone, but in general, you work with a lot of different people throughout the process.
Okay. So there are some questions here. I don't want to wait till end of the interview, because it's more focus specific, which is that what I like. So there's a question is as follow. Is it possible to create products out of waste in industrial design? And if yes, what is the advisable process to achieve that? So we're talking about how we can create industrial design from waste. How we can do that?
It's totally possible. it's not only possible, but it's done. People do that. Different types of waste. If we talk about plastic, for example, you know, reusing plastic or recycling plastic is a common thing for many years. A lot of the products you use on day to day are made of recycled plastic, not necessarily like ocean plastic or plastic that was collected from a landfill, but in the process, in the industrial process, a lot of parts, for example, again, the controller, a lot of the parts are gonna fail, and they're gonna go to a basket or a bin, and they're gonna be recycled in the process. So a lot of the plastic is recycled, of course, not as much as it should be. But anyways, talking about waste, there are many initiatives. There is the use of waste in industrial products. I would say that the difficult thing is repetition of a product or maintaining quality. It depends on the scale. Of course, you're making something. If you're making something in a low volume, it's easy to just take some waste, repurpose that waste in a way. But again, it's not going to be as cheap as buying a virgin material usually, which is a horrible thing. That's one reason why we have so much waste. It's cheaper to make something from scratch than reusing what we have already discarded. So it's possible. And she's also asking about the process to achieve it. Yeah, again, I'm talking about plastic, for example. Then you're going to use the same processes that you use for normal plastic manufacturing: injection molding, extrusion, sheet press, whatever process you use today to make a normal product or a virgin product, you can use for one made of waste. But if you're talking about different materials like fabrics and so on, again, similar processes, but usually what you have, the big difference here is that in the early stage, instead of getting a virgin material that is perfect and just put in the machine and go, you have to sort, you have to clean, you have to separate things.
To collect.
That what makes it expensive, and that's why people don't do it. And that's why regulation is a big part of this. Government should regulate that, so waste should be cheaper than virgin materials.
Yeah, it should be biologic, because one of the big issues here is about logistic, collecting, for example, all the waste. Number two, it's about how we can use machines that for recycle or to take all the plastic, melt it down, or fabric, or glass, or metal. Number four is the mindset of society themselves. As you know, if there's a segregation, okay, this is recycle for wood, this for glass or for paper. So it's like different factors, but biologic, the recycle is much easier than if I buy a new one, because the raw material is available. But it's not easy as it seems, because before that we have a lot of steps, as you said, collecting, then selecting, then melting down, then do the what they call the mold. After that, do the design. Like it's a long process, but it's worth. For example, there's a beautiful example just occurred before a couple of weeks from Australia, that using plastic to do bags, backpack. Okay, and doing clothes from just wasting for plastic that throw it in the ocean or in the sea. These type of examples, I believe that industrial designer or as a designer, we have to promote the sustainability and environment friendly, because we are part of this process, because if the investor have like a concept, yes, I can advise him, or we can guide him to use the sustainability methodology. Of course, we have to put in our mind about the budgeting, all that things, but at least it will be part of our mission as industrial design. Otherwise, we will become part of killing our environment, because at the end of the day, just I'm waiting and how much he will pay, and that's it, regardless about the environment, the global warming, and sustainability.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it? Do you think industrial designer playing like a major role in this, or no? He like a tool. Sorry to say that. He just a tool. Whatever that client say, yes, sir, I will do it. So what do you think about this, Lucas?
Yeah, I think designers have a bigger vision of themselves. We like to think that we can change things, but I think it's very difficult alone to do that. Again, I mentioned regulations, and I think there's a big role here in the government and in society as a whole. But big government, big companies, they have to act, and they don't do it because it's comfortable. And of course, designers are a very, very tiny part of this. We have responsibility. We could do better, and if we do better, it makes a big difference, which we don't do. We don't do well. A lot of the waste out there is our responsibility as designers, as creators. We should push more. We should pressure more companies. We should say no more. If a client is asking for something, say no. It's gonna hurt you maybe now financially, but in the long run, it's gonna be beneficial for you. So it's difficult, like we can make a difference. We cannot save the world alone, and even if you combine a lot of people, it's still hard to save the world. I don't even know if we're gonna be able to save the world, but I think there is some. As creators, we have more responsibility in pushing the people around us, like the clients or the governments or the associations, into doing good things than just doing good things ourselves as well. So, yeah, we're a big part of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, one of the beautiful discussions that happened in Clubhouse just before, maybe yesterday, talking about designer, something like that, designers and sustainability. So one of the points we already raised, talking about how can designer advise the clients, for example, to use such a material that not harm environment, even small things that make an effect. So we don't have just to regard all our mission and our responsibility, because as a designer, we have to raise that flag as much as we can, So because without that, it will be just we will become part of the problem, not part of the solution. So I come up with if you want to add any points, Lucas, please go ahead.
No, just to answer Aisha again about the waste. If you want to look for Precious Plastic on Instagram and online, it's just called Precious Plastic. It's an initiative by a Dutch designer. They're very big now. They're all over the world with partners, basically using plastic waste, and making that into new products. So just look for that. You're going to see a lot of interesting things, a lot of inspiration on that, and it happens, like in a small sense. Sorry.
What's the name again?
It's Precious Plastic.
Precious. Okay, Precious Plastic. Okay. Okay. The other question, Lucas, is about how we can make sure that your industrial design. Thank you. You write it down. So how we can make sure that your industrial design is practical or not? Maybe it's fancy, look beautiful, but maybe it's not practical. So,
but that's the role of testing. There are many ways of approaching industrial design. Some of them are probably gonna end up in something not practical, as you mentioned. But if you follow a process, especially working consultancy with so many clients, you're a bit more detached from the more artisty part of design, or the more expressive part of design. So your focus is on creating something useful for people that makes sense for business. So if you test along the way, I'm not going to say that you guarantee that something's practical, but you're more you have bigger chances to succeed in that matter. So if you're just designing something out of the blue, like there's one insight, and you just 3D model, 3D print and render and manufacture, most probably something's going to fail there. But if you test along the way, if you make dozens and thousands or hundreds or whatever prototypes, you have bigger chances of achieving a better experience to the user.
Okay, because I have a very critical question, very detailed one. For example, we want to introduce like a product like this, for example. Okay, it seems beautiful, it seems okay with all dimensions. So what about, for example, if the industrial design part of its functional based on weight, his weight, for example, we have something that there's balance. So how we can sense the weight through industrial design if it's just a flat?
What do you mean? Adding weights?
Yeah, the weight itself. Because even if we go for the prototype is not enough. Because if I will do the prototype from, for example, a hard paper, it's not enough. Because at the end of the day, this product will be made by, for example, from plastic, not by hard paper or foam. So prototype is not enough. answer the question if the product itself depend in the weight. For example,
Yeah.
if the product, it should be balanced like this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like bundle, okay, doing like this.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, if we draw it, if you do all the dimensions, but the sense of weight is not there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have to go to prototype. Okay, if we go to the prototype, that depends on the material you use in the prototype. If you use hard paper, even that's not enough, because what I'm looking for is a product made by plastic. So how we can solve this,
Yeah.
problem?
So you have different prototypes for different purposes. So
Yeah.
you have to, even before prototyping, you have to think about what you want to test and what you want to achieve with that prototype.
Okay.
Some prototypes you're gonna test, for example, the ergonomics. Does
Yeah.
it fit? Is it easy to grab, and so on and so forth. Some you're gonna test just the aesthetics. You're just gonna spend a lot of money to make this fancy prototype that doesn't work, doesn't have the weight, doesn't have whatever, but it looks good. So you're gonna see it. You're gonna see if it looks good or not, and so on. Some you're gonna test some functions, like for example, weight.
Yeah.
Does it feel right, or not? You're gonna feel it with whatever. Like in a lot of prototypes, for example, if we have a paper prototype, like for example this molded paper, you just put whatever clay inside it, put metal to try to achieve that weight. So different prototypes, you're going to try different things to test specific aspects of that product. Of course, some prototypes you want to achieve everything. You want the looks, you want the function, you want the feeling, you want the ergonomics. Usually this is further on in the process. You're going to spend more to make that prototype as well. But early on, you're probably gonna, okay, now I'm just gonna sand this in foam to just test, the feeling. Or this one, I'm just gonna make it heavier to see if, if it's good to grab or if it's too heavy, too light. So different purposes for different prototypes.
Okay, great. So what type of clients you are working for now, Lucas?
Let's see if I think I can say the types of clients, but I've been working a lot with medical devices.
Okay.
Which is a very interesting field.
What?
We work
because of the COVID-19?
No, we worked with medical devices before, and
okay.
At work at Eggs Design, I haven't worked with anything related to COVID, but I worked personally. I volunteered in some projects for COVID, which was interesting. Some projects in Brazil. But yeah, we work with medical devices. We work with consumer electronics, or all sorts of things. Right now, that's my main.
So in different fields, in healthcare and entertainment, so like in different categories you are working on now.
Yeah, like if I can say, yeah.
And the major clients, Lucas, are based in Europe or in the United States?
At Eggs, it varies, but most clients are in Scandinavia. So most of my clients now are based in Norway. Some are based in Iceland or in Denmark. Sometimes you have some clients in Germany or Northern Europe. But what happens, like you have so many consultancies out there. Usually they're gonna try to target that region. So Eggs is Norway, Denmark. We used to be in Brazil. We're not anymore, but we're acting here. So most of our clients are around here. Of course, we achieve to get bigger clients in other places, but they have other consultancies there. Of course, design. I mean, in general, service is a more global thing. You can hire anyone anywhere. Yeah. But it's easier if I can meet the person, if I can go to their office, and because we have our workshop where we have machines, we can prototype things there, so it's easy for the client to come.
Right.
Yeah. So it's easier to see one-to-one. Of course, now this doesn't exist anymore with COVID, but it's still a bit easier. But I think now people are seeing more and more, especially with COVID, that it's easier to work abroad. It's not easier, but it's as easy to work with someone, on a long distance. Of course, the time zone affects, but yeah.
Yeah, that leading to my following question related to competitions. So, for example, if talking, just this my analysis, and correct me if I'm wrong, right, Lucas. I see United States and South America, Europe, Far East, only these areas which is they have a lot of demand for industrial design because of our manufacturing, countries, even South America. For example, you are from, you're studying there.
Yeah.
So there's direction through the educational system, through manufacturing, through businesses. So in Europe, with all that huge competition, if there is, how you can make you stand out among others? Why client come to Locus or to come to a company, rather than going to freelance or other designer?
Well, I mean, there are many reasons, but talking about eggs, for example, which is where I work, we are, we're a holistic consultancy. We work in many different areas of design, which is not something new. A lot of other companies work with that, but at the same time, we have a portfolio. We have clients that we worked for. We have results that show something. Usually, people connect to the results of something more than what you say you can do, right? And that's one thing about design in general. Any area of design, you have to show what you've done more than what you could do based on your whatever education. So clients usually come to us because they've seen something that we did before. Maybe they worked in an industry that is similar, or maybe they know someone from that company. So I would say that consultancy is hard in that way, that a lot of people do, similar things, but your portfolio is going to tell a lot about the type of clients you're going to get. But also, yeah, I think that's one of the main ways to get clients. And of course, your connections in general. But as a person, as an individual, I think people would go to you as a freelance, for example, of course, based on your portfolio. But I guess that for freelance, there's more of an acceptance of, experimentation and testing. Well, when people go to a consultancy that is expensive, they're looking for, there is a process. I want you to deliver something that is going to be useful, that is going to, do what I need to do. While for a freelance, it's more like, oh, I'm in early stage. I want to test something. Or it varies, of course, person to person, portfolio to portfolio, but yeah. But again, talking about differentiation, it varies with the clients you had. As I said, it varies in the market you are. For example, in Norway, we're very B2B. Norway is not a big consumer market, or not a consumer produce or B2C manufacturers and so on, because historically, if you go to Sweden and Denmark, they have the big B2C brands like IKEA, Bang & Olufsen, Spotify, even Volvo, whatever big companies in Scandinavia are usually from Denmark or Sweden. But Norway is more, Norway only found money in the 70s. So for a long time, Norway was a fisherman country. So it's still the biggest products of Norway are fish and oil. So this is a very B2B market. So we are a big consultancy in a very big B2B market. So usually our clients tend to be B2B. Very rare we're going to have a big consumer brand coming to eggs.
So the national economy mindset is in your business in a way or another, right? Because the national economy mindset is reflecting your business, either direct or indirect. Because if the politics of the economy of the country doing like B2B or in high level, of course, that will affect in some companies or some companies as yours, right?
For sure. Yeah, and completely. Because especially when I say that Norway, it's a B2B market, Norway doesn't want to be. And Norway is very smart in that sense. The government is very smart in that sense. Because I'm from Brazil, which is also a very B2B market, more to service, I would say, but it's a very big commodity market. It's the main, exports of Brazil are commodities, and the government doesn't want to change that. And what that means is that, easily any other country in the world can start producing a commodity like soya or iron or, whatever commodity, and they're going to beat Brazil by price or by whatever. It's easy. But if you produce a product of value, it's harder to, like, how can I beat IKEA on making furniture? There's a lot of R&D involved, right? So it's harder. And Norway knows that, and Norway wants to change that. So a lot of the money coming from oil and fishing goes into innovative processes and projects that feed all the money. Yeah, so there's a lot of the startup community in Norway is huge. And I live in Trondheim, which is a very small town in the world, but it's big in Norway, which is 200,000 people. But there are hundreds of startups just here. So, and most of those startups have money coming from the government to feed them, and to, of course, if they have a valuable product. So that's a different thing, you know. That's a special thing in Norway, which is the government knows where they are and where they want to be, and they're investing on it. So, and that affects definitely, because we have our biggest brands, our biggest clients are B2B, especially in Oslo. But here in Trondheim, our main clients are startups, because it's also the other part of what the government is trying to do, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, clear vision is create an effective mission. So what will be a couple of questions before we finish up? What was the most challenge that you are facing? For example, if there's like a project, that weird project, or like a difficult project you faced in your career as an industrial designer, did you face any challenge with any weird, you know?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, every project is a challenge. As we said, you don't have to have the deep knowledge into what you're doing. So in every project, when it starts, there's a big phase of learning a lot of things. I work with medical devices. I never worked with that before. I'm not a medical engineer, which is a field, or I'm not a physician. So every new project of medical device, I have to learn a lot. I know now a lot of what physicians know. I can never do something that a physician does. I can never, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I know a lot now of, you know, how the heart works, because of projects that I worked on that involve the heart in some way. So you have to learn a lot about those things in every beginning of a project. So that's a big challenge. I would say that the biggest challenges are not, you know, in the difficult projects. I think a very challenging project tends to be very interesting. But I think the challenge, like the difficult challenges, or, you know, the frustrating challenges are, you know, when you work with a client that doesn't see the reason to do certain things, or doesn't see the value of connecting things, or doesn't see the value of strategy, or doesn't see the value of a specific thing that, you know, working with in consultancy, work with so many people, and you try to bring that experience into every project. Even though I'm working in a medical device now, maybe my experience in a consumer electronic might add to that, right? So I bring that experience and I try to add that to the project. Some clients will love that and they will accept that, and they will hear, maybe it doesn't make sense for them, but they will, and they, you know, they'll find a way to not go in that direction, but they will learn from it and so on. Some clients don't understand, you know, why you bring things, or why are you talking about strategy if I hire you just to make my product sexy. So I think the most challenging projects are the ones where the client is not, you know, there's not a big vision, or they don't understand that you could be a bigger part of it by just having, you know, the experience that you have and so on. And not only, I'm not talking about only the designers in this, like being the ones being rejected by the client and so on, but a lot of clients, not a lot of clients, but, you know, sometimes you face some clients that don't have a big ambition, or they don't have a bigger vision, that, or they don't understand that there's a lot more to connect, or there's a global vision here that should be, you know, considered and so on. So I would say that the most frustrating are the ones where you see that there's a lack of ambition, and there's a lack of vision, there's a lack of understanding of users, and or the lack of, you know, they're not even willing to understand that. So those are the ones that are a bit more frustrating.
Okay, just I have last question before, if there's any questions, of course, from the audience. Otherwise, I have a lot, but just because we have to stick with time. So I see, after a couple of reading, that industrial designers is much less as a quantity comparing with the graphic designers all around the world. Okay, because there are very few, and that make them number one is high caliber and more knowledgeable. As you said, for example, if there's a project from medical, you have to read a lot in that field. If you have something coming from a sport, you have to read a lot to get more in your experience. And of course, it will be high paid, as I know, comparing with the graphic designer. So what's your advice? Okay, you your head, I mean something else. So what's your advice for students that are, for example, studying graphic design, how they can become industrial designer? Especially in Arab region, we don't have such thing like this. industrial design field, like in Brazil, just an example. Okay, for students, they have freshly graduated from university. That's just the basic about design, graphic, media, the surface thing, the basic. How they can become an industrial design? That's number one. What will be the skills they have to do? Second, I think the market is open, even if they are living in Bahrain or in MENA region, they are, working all around the world, with the internet. So number one, how they can become digital design. Number two, how they can promote themselves. Go ahead, Lucas.
Yeah, I think that's very connected. Like their second question is very connected to the first one. But you mentioned paid. I think things changed a lot. I would say that, like, maybe 20 years ago, an industrial designer could be the highest, the highest salary in the design industry. That changed completely. Now a UX designer definitely earns a lot more than any other designer. And it's interesting, I've been discussing with a lot of colleagues because, as you mentioned, I don't think there is any designer that knows more or has to work more. I think everyone is working as much in a different field. But for sure, I think industrial designers have to understand a bit more of technical things, while UX designers maybe have to understand more of certain user experience things that doesn't matter now. But yeah, I would say that industrial designers are decreasing. Industrial design I think is a discipline that is in crisis a bit. Even though we have more stuff around, we have fewer products being manufactured, not in quantity, but or not in volume of units, but in quantity of SKUs of I only have one controller. I don't need 6 types of controller anymore. Or this product now replaced 30 other products. I don't need a calculator anymore. It's here. I don't need a calendar. It's here. So we have fewer products. We have fewer companies. Companies are getting bigger and swallowing everything around. So that the market was never huge for industrial design. You cannot be an industrial designer anywhere. You have to be in certain places. So when you talk about MENA, you talk about Middle East, North Africa, it's not a huge manufacturing place. It's definitely going to be a bit more tough. Same as in South America, is not compared to Europe, North America, and Asia. It's not huge in that a lot of people have to go abroad. But then it goes to your second question. If you study, if you promote your work, if you go out there, you share your work a lot, maybe something happens. And I'm in Norway because I was promoting my work on Instagram. I was found by this founder of X Design, and we became friends on Instagram. And through that friendship, then I was offered this job. So things happen. It's not easy. There's a lot of privilege involved. There's a lot of it's not an easy job. It's not a cake recipe, as I said before. But if you apply yourself as any other discipline, any other field of knowledge, it's possible. I wouldn't say if you're going for the money, don't go for it. Like there are other disciplines where you earn more. But if you look for it, if you're very interested and you think industrial design is for you, you just have to invest a lot of time, which is the same for any other design industry. And just share your work, share as much as possible, talk to people, create network. You're might find in the future someone that can give you an opportunity.
And of course, it will be have to be presence, for example, in professional platforms such as like Behance, or maybe apply for like international awards like Red Dot. I know it's like very high level, but at least if you try, and even if you are shortlisted, that's enough, to create your exposure and to create your reputation. And from that question, I have just one note. I want from you to correct me after I just read a couple of articles about industrial design. The number of patents is very few comparing before 100 years ago. Okay, you cannot read, for example, there's a new patent now coming. That's number one. But the number of industrial designs is huge. For example, the remote control, or that you just showed to me, or even pen, even the pen itself. Every day there's like a new style, that new type. Every day, okay? Toothpaste, microphone, everything around us is like industrial design. even the shape of a bottle, a water bottle, everything, everything. So that's mean there's like a huge demand, because if all the brands they have the same products, for example, water or oil or perfume, whatever, just name it. Now the competition it will be not about the product, it's about the package, how they can present the product, okay, to the customer. That's why the user experience come. That's why the industrial design come, to make them stand out in the shelf. That's mean there are huge demand, because we have like saturation of the goods and services, because all almost similar. So if, as Fabian said, that if the goods and services all similar, you have to become standout through your brand. When you talk about the brand, either it will be visual brand identity or your product as an industrial design. That will be make you stand out. That will be your differentiator. That's mean the industrial design demand is high. It will not become low at all. With time, it will become high. As you said, even small things, rings, this one, microphone, the headphone, every day it will be like a new things. But at the end of the day, same operation, same function. There's no change. Even the last I think headphone from Apple or whatever, just name it. So that's a proof that digital design is highly demand. That's mean we have to focus more about the user experience plus in digital design plus the graphic design. That's equal brand and ultimate experience for our users. That would lead us to the main point, which is I want to share it with you, and correct me if I'm wrong or right. We have to focus more about user experience through the graphic design or through the industrial design. The industrial design never stop, and we can inspire that from movies or from what they call it, futuristic vision, or from even drawing from kids. And by the way, for example, if you go to watch Steam Boy, the Japanese animation, if you watch it or not, please just search for it. It's a very inspired movie, Steam Boy. Well, the father of that young boy, he's engineer. Okay, he had a lot of drawing, and that inspired the guy to create what they call the steam engine. That will be the future of the power, in 3,000 something years. Just like a futuristic animation. So all that inspired us as a human to create something new. So I believe, correct me, Lucas, I believe in design is the future, because all the products are the same. So how we can make me as a brand unique in this design? The function, the look and feel, the package, and the function, plus the other layer, which is the brand identity. So we have 3 layers and 1 core. What I call it the the onion theory. You know the onion? So we have up to the core. So what do you think? Do you think this the industrial design is like a very challenged market, and there are a lot of potential we have to look for?
I think what you said makes a lot of sense in the terms of user experience being the focus. Like we had that change a long time ago, and it's now more clear than ever. We changed for the focus from products to experiences. That's done. There's no way back from here.
Right.
But what we have to think about the design disciplines here is that what I see, and I shared that with some colleagues. A lot of people have been talking about this. There are many ways this can happen, and I think the optimistic way, what I see that could happen, my preferred way, is that in the future design disciplines will merge. So back, if we look back 100 years ago in Bauhaus, the first design discipline was industrial design. There was no variation, and graphic design was a part of this. And then graphic design became a separate thing, even though they're all industrial design. It was all about industrializing something, either something graphic or not, doesn't matter. But now we have all these disciplines. You have UX, UI, service, business strategy, industrial, whatever. The idea now of some people is that, with all this experience, focus now and the products merging and digital and physical becoming one in a lot of things, and brand and product becoming one, the idea is that design will merge again and become 1 or 2 or 3, I don't know, but will merge again and things will be more even out in design, let's say. That would be my preferred way. Another way is that one discipline will lead another. So industrial design might cease existing in the future, which could become something like industrial designers are not so many anymore, or at least, I mean, they are many in the market, but a lot of the people graduating are moving into UX, UI, or moving into graphic design. So industrial design might die out a bit, and a lot of even new job openings are asking for industrial designers that know UX or that have experience in UX. So the market is looking for something that is not in them, or not in demand, but the schools are not producing. So I think that will change a bit. So I don't know. I think you can see this in many different ways. I hope design disciplines merge again, and we have design as a core. And if I want to specialize in something, I'm going to specialize. If not, I can still be of value for most companies. So I don't know. It's hard for me to say that industrial design is the future, because I think design is a part of the future for sure. I wouldn't say that design is going to change the world again, but I think it's a big part of
No,
if you make anything. Yeah.
My point, Lucas, is industrial design. When I say industrial design is the future, that's not mean I ignore the other type of design disciplines. No, that's not what they call it. I don't mean that. Okay, just examples. If you go to, for example, Elon Musk with the future for the Mars. When you go for robotics, when you go for example, Jessica Fresco, the founder of the Venus Project. If you can just Google this amazing man from United States, Jessica Fresco, the Venus Project. Okay, when you go to any futuristic movies, any futuristic novels, all talking about the experience in the future, all based in the industrial design, robotics, building, computers, even their costume in the future. So automobile, everything around us is industrial design. Of course, it will merge with the user experience for sure. It's merged with the graphic design as look and feel and colors and with the branding. But the core is UX plus industrial design. That's the core. That what they call it. In the surface, it will be a graphic design. So we cannot ignore that industrial design, not the future. I believe, even if I'm not an industrial designer, I believe industrial design is the core of the future, because we will use it. And we are using it every day, every single day. We touch more than 100 products and industrial design every day, from toothpaste to microphone to pen to the mouse, to computer, to the mic, everything. That all around us. So we cannot ignore that. But I believe this will be the future, because it will be more products come. That means more competition. The level, the benchmark will be high. So the brand's owner, they have to create their own uniqueness again and again. That means they have to manufacture. For example, if talking about the fan is a patent, maybe, I don't know, maybe 100 years ago or something. It's fan. It's still a patent, a fan. But how many industrial design for fan? Thousands of industrial design. But the same concept. But the look and feel, the function, but at the end of the day, it's a fan. It's like, giving it out to win. That's it. So I think that industrial design is part of one of the pillars for our future, and we have to focus focus in this type of field, and we have to respect it, because in our region, Lucas, they don't know what's industrial design. As we discussed before, they mix up between product design and industrial design, and it's like cocktail happening here. So we have to educate people, and that's why we have this interview, because you are experienced, you are work and live with industrial design, and we have to educate our audience what's industrial design, what's the process, what's make it unique, and why we need it, because there's no alternative solution. Either you use industrial design that came from your culture, came from your community, or you have to use another industrial design coming from other countries. Simple as that. There's no options. So that's my other note. Did you get any request from Arab regions to do industrial design? Not me, of course, other than me.
No, I mean, besides curious people online just asking for, you know, price of something. No, we never worked with a product in the MENA region. I think no, we worked with one project in Tunisia for
part of
yeah.
MENA. Okay, it's far away.
It's Middle East, North Africa, so we think about it, but yeah, it's not Gulf states, but you know, it's definitely different. It's not something that we can expect, but yeah, it's one in a million.
Yeah, that invitation from my side, that for all our audience that will be live in Instagram or on YouTube later, please just go check Mr. Lucas Instagram account, and his fabulous works, amazing. He's amazing guy. I say that in front of him, and even not in front of him, that his work is amazing, and it's worth to just to see and cooperate with him, and any businessman just to think for a potential business as based in the industrial design. I think the best guy is Mr. Lucas to go with. He's very friendly and very cooperative, and he is not just to do what you are looking for. He advise you, and that's adding value to you as a person. Lucas is not just okay. You need A, I will do A. No. By the way, A you can A+1. You know, that will be adding value to me as an end user or as a visitor or as a businessman. And at the end of this interview, I would thank you, Lucas, for your time. You're really adding value to this interview because we educate our target audience, and we want to educate more about what will be the future of industrial design. So if you have any last, what they call it, tip or advice to our audience, please go ahead.
Thank you, Jaffa. Thank you for the time. And as you said, I think you said a lot of good things. Thanks for the nice words. But I'll just recommend people to, you know, look for professionals out there, designers. If you're doing something, if you're making a product, if you're thinking about it, you know, just meet someone. People are very willing to meet and to talk to people. And these days it's much easier to just, you know, grab a hangout link or something, and you're gonna, you know, get a new perspective over your ideas and over your business. So, you know, something might come out of it, some collaboration, maybe not, we don't know, but you know, you're gonna get something out of it. So it's important to talk to people, connect to people. Designers can bring a lot into the business. You know, as you said, it's the whole connection of things. You know, you're gonna bring new ideas, you're gonna bring new perspectives again. So connect with people. I would say, you know, go after designers online, go on LinkedIn, go on Behance, and just hit them. Thank you, Jafar, for the time.
Lucas, thank you for your time. Thank you for the precious experience that you shared with us, and hope, inshallah, next time to be working with you, because I'm planning for that. Very soon we'll announce about it for the students and for those interested in digital design. You will be our instructor at that. Thank you again, and thank you for our audience, and see you soon, inshallah. Thank you, Lucas.
Inshallah.
See you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.